Behind me here is Loudon Hill. Loudon Hill's famous for two battles that was fought during Scotland's Wars of Independence, one with William Wallace and one with Robert the Bruce. But it was also nearby here that another battle took place, because it was on the 1st of June 1679 that a large group of Covenanters met near here at a place called Drumclog to have an open air worship service. Drumclog is rural even today, so they were not trying to antagonise the authorities, they just simply wanted to worship God. And they did, however, bring weapons with them, and being mostly country people, the weapons were predominantly halberts and pitchforks. They had brought these for self-defence, should they be attacked, and attacked they were. The Reverend Thomas Douglas was preaching about suffering for Christ, and he'd almost concluded the sermon when he heard a warning shot being fired by one of the lookouts that had been posted nearby. This was informing them that troops were approaching. With that, he turned to the congregation and said, well, you've had the theory, now it's time for the practice. And then he ended with prayer. After sending the women, children and elderly to the top of the hill behind them, the Covenanters then lined up for battle here. They'd chosen their spot well, they were behind a bog. Opposite them, at the top of the hill, was Claverhouse and around 150 of his dragoons. Claverhouse also had with him some prisoners that he had taken, and he tied them up and stuck them at the side of the field. He then told the Covenanters to lay down their weapons and hand over the ringleaders. The Covenanters replied by singing Psalm 76. Furious, Claverhouse ordered his men that no quarter was to be given this day, and that their own blood was on their own head. His troops then opened fire and charged at the Covenanters. But the boggy ground stopped their charge, and fierce hand-to-hand fighting ensued. As the battle continued, Claverhouse, seeing his men falling all around him, realised that he had lost. He ordered a retreat, and his men fled, making their way back towards Straven. All the time they're being pursued by the Covenanters. Claverhouse himself had a narrow escape when his horse was killed from underneath him. However, he jumped on his trumpeter's horse and made his escape. Back to Straven, and then he made it to Glasgow, where he wrote a letter to his commander saying that he believed this was the beginning of a rebellion. Only a handful of Covenanters died. Most of them died days later of the wounds that they received here. But around 40 dragoons were killed. It was a victory. The Covenanters had been worshipping God in the open air. They'd been attacked, they defended themselves and won. Sadly, however, 3 weeks later at Bothwell Bridge, things would be very different.